I met somebody today and we were kind of just bonding over like a mutual experience she and I shared, which was like, I said something to the effect of, like sometimes so many ideas are flashing my mind that it can feel overwhelming. And I've gotten a better handle on it and learning how to manage it. But we were just like relating over that fact because she was like, yo, like the same thing, I used to struggle with the same thing. And I was like, oh, word, like that's crazy. And she goes on to tell me how she went to therapy for it and was ultimately, prescribed some medication because it was categorized as anxiety and intrusive thoughts and so forth. And so it kind of slowed her processing speed down a bit, and it also improved some of the stress she was feeling related to all these ideas that she would feel flooded with. And to my knowledge, there were no other disorders or concerns like at play there. But what it made me realize is that you can take somebody with a quote unquote disorder and put them in one environment and they are given medication, they are treated to fix what's wrong with them. You take that same person and put them in a different environment and they are taught how to use this quote unquote disorder for their advantage. They are taught how to use it as a superpower. And that was just like, it was actually heartbreaking to me to think about how many people that if their environment changed, the things that they're calling a disorder would not be considered a disorder. And you see this all the time in the school system. And it's sad. Like, it's so sad because we're so quick to, as a nation, so quick to pathologize everything. So quick to own a disorder. Oh, my anxiety, my depression, my whatever, fill in the blank. At the end of the day, what did God call you? Who did God call you? And what did he create you to be? Don't get me wrong. There are some situations and circumstances outside of our control when we do have serious mental health issues and we do need to see a professional to get the support that we need to learn how to manage it and overcome it, right? And then if you're a person who is spiritual and believes in God, adding that in as a foundation for your healing and you overcoming whatever that is. But that's not what we see happen. Like, the same thing that somebody is getting medication for is the same thing that somebody else is praying for. There are people that wish they could come up with creative ideas. I had a client literally who was like, man, like, I wish I was creative in this way, but like it takes me forever to like think of such and such ideas or topics for my my content and or books to write and like their journalism, and they're so upset that they aren't able to just dot with the ideas, and so they pray for that and they hope for that. You take that same person and they go to a therapist or some type of healthcare provider or mental health provider, and they're like, here's a pill to fix that. Or I would prefer to say, here's a pill to mask your gifts. Here's a pill to mask that superpower. And sometimes, I think the thing that I liked about the movie Split, even though there are some very concerning inaccuracies there when it comes to DID, dissociative identity disorder, I liked that it was the take of like this quote unquote disorder being a superpower. And when I used to work at a trauma disorders unit, I remember working with clients who didn't look at their quote unquote condition as a fault or something to be ashamed of or a a negative. They were like, yeah, this is something I'm living with. Yeah, there are some problems with it, and I'm still going to live a thriving life regardless. Same thing for me. I could say, oh my gosh, all these ideas are so overwhelming, and there are times where it feels overwhelming, and I'm like, this thing has happened, this thing, but I pray about it, and I start looking at what scripture shows us about how God created things and how God functions, and how even like other people in the Bible, the prophets, and I start realizing like it's not a question of quote unquote fixing everything. Sometimes it's just, how do you harness this better? How do you harness this better? I feel like that's the one thing we can learn from some anime shows, is like harnessing your uniqueness, harnessing your power, harnessing your power. You feel overwhelmed by the ideas. What I got really good at is journaling. I have sticky pads that I keep in my purse. I have my notes app on my phone. If an idea comes, I bullet it real quick, and I come back to it when I have time, and I further develop it into something else that then becomes my podcast episodes, or then becomes another idea on my book list, or then it's something that I use later with a client and it blesses them in some shape, way, or form. But it's not something that we should be so afraid of and trying to mute. And again, disclaimer, or as I would say, if you are experienced, no one's saying you're having intrusive thoughts about harming somebody, oh, that's a superpower. No. Okay, I know I've referenced split, but that's not what I was saying. Okay, if that's happening, yes, go get help. Talk with somebody. Please voice that experience, so you can, whether it's medication, whether it's psychotherapy, whatever needs to happen, you can get that. But if it's that you are overwhelmed because you're thinking about all these different tasks that you want to get done, all right, it's nothing wrong that all those things are on your mind. You just need to get better at organizing and time management and structuring and outlining your plans on how to get those things done. Simple fix. Just like that. Now, there's also accountability and your own self-discipline that needs to come in play, because you can create a schedule and a planner, but if you're not following it, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So you have to also like follow through with these interventions and these skills that you learn and acquire. But my hope is, I'm like just visualizing some of my clients right now, like their faces are just like flashing through my mind, and I pray for every last one of them all the time. And my hope is for people in general to be very careful to not medicate away a gift that God gave you, or a talent that God gave you. Maybe it feels overwhelming right now because you haven't learned how to harness it, but slow down a little bit. And I think this is why it's so important to see yourself through God's eyes and not through the eyes of the people around you, or even yourself sometimes, because sometimes we see ourselves in the wrong light. But when you see yourself through God's eyes, you're able to see what God can do with that thing that you're calling a flaw or a quote-unquote disorder. That's all. It's just all I meds. But I'm going to go ahead and go in this apartment and play with my puppy doos. My little puppy doos. Peace out. Ooh, real quick. You know how some people, this is a intrusive thought that I feel like I have to say. Impulsive thought, whatever. You know how some people get home and you see the memes and the girl is like, they can't wait to take their bra off. Like, that is the relief they get at the end of the day. Baby, taking this dang on thing out of my hair, this freaking scrunchie, woo, the relief. That was my relief today. What? This, I need to see some memes about taking this scrunchie out of your hair. Like, especially for my chicks that slick it back like I had it today. Ew, ouch. You pop that thing. Whew, my hair's still traumatized. It's still trying to. All right, I'm out. Peace out.